Hey, this is BJ. Thanks for listening to our show's podcast. If you're a fan of all things geeky, you should check out my other podcast, BJ Shea's Geek Nation. We have new episodes every day, and you can check it out at bjgeeknation.com.
Your driver's license is important so you can get back and forth to work, get your kids to school, and back and forth to daycare. If your license has been suspended because you can't pay your tickets, you can't do any of those things. Let's talk about Chapter 13 bankruptcy. You may have heard that tickets cannot be discharged, but they can be dealt with in a Chapter 13 case. Why not come in for a free consultation? The chapter you choose will make all the difference to your getting back, legally, on the road. Let's design a plan to pay off your tickets and restore your license immediately. I'm attorney Travis Gagne. Please contact me today at choosetherightchapter.com. That's choosetherightchapter.com.
99.9 KISW, the Rock of Seattle. All right, Steve, got a new survey. Got the top 10 things that negatively impact relationships.
Banging other people.
Yeah. You're on the right track because about half of these have to do with sex.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, really, of course.
Okay. Work stress is a big one. That makes sense. We know that work and money, they go hand in hand when it really takes a toll on relationships.
What do I always say? Like, it's like money, sex, and children are like the three major issues that a couple will have in their marriage.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, all right. So I'm wondering if all these are going to fall under that criteria.
Well, at least I can tell you for me. I'll tell you right now, buddy.
Yeah, Joe and Sarah, you're the problem.
Those children sucked up the money, and then I could have no more sex after they were born.
Joe's part of the solution because he got the F out.
Yeah.
Now it's your turn, Sarah.
Oh, no, it's never going to happen. So, that's the number one thing, work stress. 35% of people in this survey said, yep, that one is a problem for our relationship. Number two on this list, and we are going in order of the basically ranked number 1 to number 10 as far as the number 1 being the worst. So number 2 is being too tired for sex. More and more I'm hearing that it's a thing that guys are saying, that they're too tired for sex. And I don't know if they're too tired for the foreplay part of it, because
probably I
am not too tired to just sit there and go, okay, let's go. I mean, I don't think I'd ever be too tired for that.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, because a lot of times, I mean, especially when I was younger, I'd come home and I'd be tired from school or whatever, work, and I'd be like, I need to take a nap, or I need to go to bed, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, let's see what's on television, and next thing popping in a DVD, and I'm like, wait a second, I was so tired, but I'm not tired enough for this.
Well, watching a DVD, though, dude, seems like it's like
ancient days.
Well, not that. I mean, no, I mean, watching video or a movie, it feels like you don't need to do anything. Mm-hmm. It's like mindless entertainment,
right?
So I can see,
it's like scratching your neck.
Yeah,
only it's not your neck.
I feel like that's the least amount of effort you have to put into anything, and you're getting entertained. You know, I mean, because you can do it when you have a cold, right? When I'm flat on my ass with the flu, I can still watch a show.
Yeah,
but I have a hard time getting things going, even when I have the flu. I don't know if I can make things happen in the old hydraulics department.
So he says, dating a compulsive complainer, someone who complains about everything. Oh, signed BJ's wife.
Yeah, yeah. That sucks.
Yeah, because that's a soul suck at that point. You come home, you're excited to see the person you love, and then they come home and they're just bitching and bitching and bitching and bitching. You're like, oh.
Number 3 on this list, again, we're going in numerical order, 1 being the worst and 10, being still bad, but not as bad as number 1. These are the reasons these are the negative impacts you have on your relationship. Work stress, being too tired for sex. Number 3, having no sex drive.
Well, you're right. Everything is about sex.
Dude, that is the toughest one, because at some point, your sex drive issues are going to be a thing for people. I mean, unless you're lucky enough that you guys have compatible sex drives. But boy, I very rarely know people who have that happen. I mean, Steve, you're close enough with I don't know if you have talks with your male buddies, but I have over the years. And at some point, it'll come up where somebody will say, you know what, dude, the wife just doesn't want it anymore. I mean, that's what I remember hearing a lot.
Yeah, we have a couple buddies when in the locker room that will kind of throw that out there, but we all just kind of, it's just like, oh, that's just like your stereotypical joke. You know what I mean? Like,
see, I don't know if that's much. I think it might not be. Yeah, I think it's their way of being able to go, I wish I could get some more.
Then we're bad friends because we laugh it off and continue to drink Coors Light.
Yeah. Vicky, I'm going to ask you, do you have girlfriends that say the same thing? Like the dude just doesn't want it that much anymore?
Yeah, like I have one friend, she legit begs her husband to have sex, and he just has none. at all. But I think they say, like, when a woman hits her 30s, that's when her sex drive's the highest, and she's a woman in her 30s. And then guys have their sex drive the highest when they're teenagers, like 18.
That's why teachers are always banging their students.
Right?
So let me ask this, because you're right. I still think, though, that a dude's sex drive should be in pretty decent shape when he's in his 30s. I would think.
But maybe some women want it more than just once because they have the ability to just kind of like recharge. Well, you know what I mean? Like if they were a video game character, they get their extra life rather quicker than a dude who might need to, you know, kind of be on pause for a minute or two.
I agree. Vicky, how often does she, I mean, do you know how often she really wants to have sex during the week?
She would like to actually have at least one.
A week.
Once a week?
At least.
See,
that's not even happening.
See, Steve, that you could
bad.
do. Yeah, that's bad.
I'm wondering if it's more common for guys to have a lower sex drive, but it's not cool of them to have that, or say there's like, oh yeah, no, totally, I'm all horny and I'm like having sex all the time, because you'd get looked down upon.
I'll tell you this, Vicky, you have a good point, because our machismo is definitely something we want to be proud of. But we've now found out with testosterone that really, if you're a dude and you don't have much of a sex drive, it's also probably affecting your ability to be great at work and or just to do things in life, because without that testosterone, it's tough to really push through things. So they ought to go get checked out. And there's a lot of clinics now that will help you out with testosterone issues.
But also on the flip side, could it be a situation where is she giving him a hard time, a difficult time about this, where now it's psychological? You know what I mean? Like where it's almost in his head where he's like, oh man, I got to really step it up and perform. And he kind of psychs himself out. I mean, I think all guys can agree at some point, maybe not for this instance, but if you get in your own head, all of a sudden Mr. Softy comes and visits, and you can't kind of get out of your own head.
That's only happened one time in my life.
That psychologically you weren't able to get excited?
Yeah. I tried, and I just couldn't get it done.
What happened?
Well, I thought I was going to be killed.
By your wife?
No, this was way back in the day when I was a young man, which is why it was really amazing, because the younger you are, the more easy it is for you to get everything working.
Well, did you think you were going to get killed by the person you were with?
I was I thought she had a guy that was going to come kill me.
Oh,
and she was like, no, everything's going to be okay.
I thought like you were hanging out with like Sharon Stone from like Basic Instinct or something like that.
Yeah, but never in my life did I ever have that problem. I literally was like, wow, I cannot get stuff going, and I'm realizing, well, yeah, I'm scared that this guy's going to bust in this room and kill us because he
Did you put a chair up against the doorknob?
Yeah, I should have done that. Yeah. I didn't do that. Yeah.
That's right, because you're just like a habitual wanting to get with people who have other men in their life.
That's what I do.
You naughty man.
Thank you. Number 4 on the list is arguments about money, like we said.
Yep.
Yeah, money, sex, and kids. So far, the kids haven't shown up on this list. It's nice to know they're not in the top 4.
Hey, did this crack the top 10? The question of what's for dinner?
Yeah, that's not there. By the way, somebody gave me a really good clue about that. Oh, as far as like the dinner issue, you know, when you go, what do you want for dinner? And nobody wants to give an answer. Somebody told me that if you want to make your woman happy, you throw out suggestions. You just say, what do you think about Chinese? And if she says yes or no, then you go, what do you think about Italian? What do you think about pho? Don't ask her what's for dinner. Give her suggestions. And I don't know. It was like the best trick I've ever learned. It's like for some reason with some women, they go, thank you for at least giving suggestions. And she doesn't even care if she really, really wants it. She just likes the fact that you're making the move.
For my wife and I, we don't even ask each other what's for dinner. We just say sushi, Indian, or Thai. Because it's always what we end up doing.
See, that's awesome.
And it's really 1 and 2, sushi or Indian.
Oh, man.
I'm leaning towards sushi this weekend.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I was hoping you lean towards Indian because I come down and see you.
Then I'm definitely leaning towards sushi this weekend.
Yeah, son of a bee. Okay, so number 5 on the list. This is interesting. And this kind of, I think, was a thing in my relationship with my wife. I had to work this out.
Okay.
One of you is a morning person, and the other is a night owl. My wife is a morning person.
That's got to be tough for people that are in relationships that someone works nights and the other person works days, and they have that passing moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like where it's like, okay, we got like a 2-hour window to spend time with each other, and then then I'm asleep and you're at work, or vice versa.
You know who's got that?
Who?
Is our buddy Taryn that works nights here. She's got that because her husband works the morning.
Yeah, Brad works in the mornings,
yeah.
and then she works the nights, and both in radio, which is awesome.
And it seems to be working out well because Taryn's always got nice things to say about him. But in my situation, see, I'm a gamer. I go to bed about the time my wife is getting up. If not for this job, I would be going to bed around 3, 4 in the morning.
Dude, if this was not our job, my wife and I would definitely have issues sleep schedule-wise because she likes getting up early, getting her day going, having her on the weekends. It's like almost like she's like opens up the door and the marching band comes out.
Yeah.
Because like she's like all about like, it's up at 6 a.m., let's get things going. And if I don't have to get up for work, I'm like, no, turn the lights off. I just want to stay. I like being up late, and I don't want to get up early.
So listen, if you and I ever both retire, here's what we do.
If it involves us living together, the answer is no.
No, we live together, and our wives...
I said the answer is no.
But the wives can get up and have a great time together, and you and I get to sleep in. It's a great deal. You don't like this
deal?
Are
we sharing one bed?
I didn't say that. Why is that? No, we'll have our own separate rooms. You know me. I want separate bedrooms even for my wife. We'll have 4 separate bedrooms. You'll have yours. I'll have mine. They'll have theirs. And then they get up and have their marching band, and you and I get to sleep. I think these are really good ideas. Why won't you come eat pizza with me, and why won't you let me sleep with you? Or at least come live with you? You know,
wow.
I mean, live with you, not sleep with you. Come
wow.
You know
I'm going to take a time out.
All right, fine.
Is anyone else in on this timeout?
All right.
Because I think that's the best thing to do.
Number
Vicky looks
6.
like she just puked in her mouth.
Number 6 on the list. You know what I mean?
Danny looks like he's even more excited to get pizza with you.
Yeah, that's a good point. Number 6 are health problems. Oh, this sucks because if you're lucky enough to be in a long-term marriage, right? Mm-hmm. You want that to be a good thing. That sucks if you think it's supposed to get better when you get older, but the health problems are going to give you a problem.
Some people don't like being around people who are not feeling well.
Yeah, that's true. I think that, I wonder what it means when somebody is like at a big age difference. Like for you, Steve, how's it going to be for your poor wife? She's going to be young and vibrant. She's still going to have a great life, and you're going to be in a wheelchair and not doing anything. Don't you ever feel like maybe you're giving her the raw deal?
Well, we are married.
Okay, then I put that wrong.
No, because I think that opens up the door to great opportunities. Like she can get ahead of the line at Disney World and Disneyland.
Oh, because she's pushing you around the wheelchair.
We can have better seats at concerts and football games.
All right.
I think it's all going to work out.
I like that. You know what? The glass is always half full with you. I love that.
Yep.
Number 7 on the list, boring sex. I feel like Vicky, that would be a problem for Vicky. It's like, okay, if you're not going to tie me up, if you're not going to throw me against the wall, if you're not going to hang me from the ceiling, I'm out.
Then what's the point? But that is a very important thing. Like, if you're not vibing with the person sexually, then it's not going to work out. Like, I've met people whom I've had great conversations with and got along super well. And then when it came to doing it, it was just not there. It wasn't fun. Mm-hmm. And it was unfortunate.
Damn.
Just didn't work.
Did you tell them that's why you're not together? Like when sometimes when people break up, they want to know why. I never was that person. I was like, oh, you don't want to be with me? Okay, cool, get out. But like some people want to know what they did to cause the relationship to end. Do you tell them the truth? Like you suck in the bed?
No. What ended up happening? He thought I ghosted him.
Wording, Steve.
Phrasing.
Yeah.
He thought I ghosted him because he texted me and I replied back. And I never hit send.
Oh,
and
no, I hate when that happens.
No, yeah, right. And so then we never really talked. It was one of those like, okay, we just drifted apart. And then years later, I'm like, well, what was the last thing he texted me? And I looked and I see my message is still there, waiting to be sent like 2 years later.
And he's still looking at the phone with the little 3 bubbles. And he's like, when is she going to hit send?
Jesus, those bubbles keep moving, man. She's probably got a bath going by now.
BJ and Migs, mornings on The Rock, 99.9 KISW.
99.9 KISW, The Rock of Seattle. An Outback Steakhouse worker in Florida named Tamlin.
Sorry.
Jesus.
I've been craving Outback because you get the lobster tail, too.
Yeah.
I just want to go there and crush a steak and a lobster tail.
Oh, yeah.
Even for breakfast.
Okay.
Yep.
But that was a sound that I shouldn't hear those kind of sounds.
Sorry, my bad. I won't say anything.
Yeah, that sounded like a, hey, honey, I'm home sound. Yeah. Damn.
Well, if she came home with steak and a lobster tail, then yeah.
She get that sound? Okay. So, Outback Steakhouse. Oh. Yeah, okay. She works in Florida, works at an Outback. Her name is Tamlin, and she filled the local church's $735 takeout order. So it was a takeout order for $735.
Damn.
And
that's a lot of steak and lobster tails.
And she was fired when she ranted on social media about not getting a tip. But it was takeout, right?
Yeah. See, this is the big debate. I battle this all the time. Whenever I go somewhere to get something to go, I'm in this weird dilemma because you still get the receipt that says tip on it. And I'm thinking, like, if I get sushi, I'm still thinking, well, the sushi chef should still be tipped for what they just did. And, I know that the tip goes not only, and Vicky probably could attest this, not only to the waitress, but to the cooks. And to the
So part of the tip does that, right, Vic? Like he says?
It depends on the restaurant. Some servers are required to tip out the kitchen. Just depends on their policy. But if you're getting a big order like that, you have to take into account all the extra, like, cutlery they're putting into it, all the sauces, all the
time spent.
Yeah, the time spent packing up individual sauces and different things, putting it all together. Because when we get catering orders, oh my God, that was the biggest pain in the ass, because we have to like lid up everything and make sure everything's like set up correctly.
All hands on deck.
Yep, a million containers of sauces, different sauces. Yeah.
So I got to the point where now I don't probably tip. I definitely don't tip as much as I would if I sat down in a restaurant, but I still give probably just a little bit under 20%.
Yeah, I mean, like I when I was a server, I didn't have a problem with 10%, like $1. Cool.
Okay, so 10%'s the thing. All right.
I didn't mind. I mean, I'm sure other servers might have a problem with that.
I might have to step up. If Steve is just a little under 20, he's beating me on the takeout tip.
No. What are you giving? Nothing.
No, I give something.
Yeah.
I'm like Vicky. I'm doing the 10%. But if you're going close to 20,
I go to whatever's the easiest to do the math quick.
Oh, there's that. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I guess even though she didn't get the tip, and even though she may have been in the right a little bit, I mean, that's a $735 order from the church, and it is interesting that the church really, of all people, I don't know. Do they think because they're a nonprofit and they're always asking for donations that they should save as much money and not give any money out because all the money they take in they give away to the people that need it? Is that what they're thinking at this church? I wonder.
Well, I don't know if they necessarily put that much thought into it. It could have just been the person who did the order isn't somebody that typically would tip on a takeout order.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you can't just lump it all in as a whole church decided as a collection.
I know, but then if you're working for the church, you have to know you're representing the church, and you can't make them look bad because, I mean, that's the thing. She basically is mad at the church. She went online and ranted about this, and Outback was like, you can't do that. We do not let you post. That's a policy. Workers cannot make social posts like that.
I don't blame them because, I mean, these days, sometimes people go a little overboard with, like, trying to shame a customer, and if I'm a company, it's like, well, you're making us look bad.
Yeah.
We can handle that internally or whatever, but you don't need to be turning it into this because it makes us as a whole look bad.
See, the person that filled the order is making the church look bad. This girl's making Outback look bad. Here's Tamlin. She wants to get her side of the story out there, Steve. And she's explaining exactly what happened.
I brought it out, put it in the car. We received the payment. There was no gratuity. I got upset. I posted a post on Facebook about the church not leaving a gratuity tip. Coming in to eat or take out, you should automatically be wanting to tip 15%. From there, you either go up or go down based on service.
I like how Tamlin, I kind of like it. She's kind of like me. She's got rules. She's got it figured out.
Yeah.
I like that.
And it seems like I'm falling in her criteria.
Yeah.
Although somebody brings up a good one. What if that's the case, why don't you tip at a fast food place? I don't know. I have no idea. I've lost all track in how I'm supposed to and not supposed to tip
I go
things.
by the jar. If there's a jar there, I guess you got to leave something.
Look, if it doesn't give me a receipt that says I can put in a tip, I'm not tipping. I don't have cash on me. If I see a receipt that says tip, I'll... Except for the froyos. That's a whole other conversation, but... They do nothing.
They do nothing.
They do nothing.
They weigh it. They have to make sure it's weighed right.
Yeah, I put it on the scale for them.
Well, of course you can't.
I have to take the damn spoon out of the jar and put it into my thing.
Oh, they don't put the place I go. So the Menchie's I go to, they give you the spoon.
No, they just look at me.
Oh, you can see Menchie's on Mercer Island. You get the exclusive service.
All right, well then you tip them.
They go, here's your spoon, sir.
I think some part of your body has to be a part of the process for me to give you a tip.
I see what you're saying.
Put a little effort into it, people.
Oh man. So Tamlin stands by what she did. Even though she got fired by Outback, she believes she should have the right to complain about customers.
I feel that we should be allowed to say something, especially to big parties that don't leave anything, that pay the exact amount. I still feel the same way, and I probably still do it the same way today. I wouldn't change anything. The church did reach out to me, and that they are trying to rectify the whole thing.
Ooh, man, you think the church is going to go to Outback and go, look, you got to give her job back. God wants it this way.
Is that what it is?
I mean, seriously, what is the church going to do? The church could fix it. Once you bring the big G in, what are you going to do? Who's going to go against the big G?
Well, it sounds like the church probably like, oh, crap, she didn't give you a tip. They probably feel bad about that.
And then she gets fired for it.
Well, she got fired because she broke company policy.
I agree, but you can see why she was upset. And here's the other thing.
Well, call the church and say, hey, I just want to let you know. I mean, I know even that I would feel weird, but that seems a little. At least you're not going against the company policy. If the company says don't put out on social media about tips and stuff, and you do, and you get fired, I don't really feel any sympathy for you.
I'd be very depressed because I would know that if the church didn't give me a tip, I would go like, I guess if God wanted me to have a tip, he would have said, hey. You know, I'd feel like God doesn't want me to have a tip.
That's exactly how you should
I would
feel.
take it personally. I would be like, well, I'm one of those guys that go, God willing or God not willing. So in other words, if I didn't get a tip, it must be what God wants.
So the one person who makes the order all of a sudden represents God's opinion.
Well,
Is it the same for everything?
Well, I'm just thinking, yeah, because God knows what's going on, right?
Well, but
so
let's
I
just
would
say-
take it personally, going, God apparently thinks I didn't do a good enough job. What do I got to do, God, to get a better tip over here? You don't think? You don't take that higher message like it was meant to be?
If you really want to know what I think everything you're saying right now is completely stupid.
I think it's meant to be. Or
But that's if you want to know what I think.
Oh, so you don't?
I'm not going to blame an entire organization for the actions of one person.
No, I'm not blaming the church. I'm going beyond saying I'm a kind of guy that, acts of God. I'm like, maybe I would like, well, maybe there's a reason I don't get this tip. There may be a thing. Of course, I would take it personally, think I'm a bad guy, like I did something wrong.
See, at first I thought it was just a stupid joke you were trying to do. Now I just think you're plain stupid.
You don't take that in the world. Like,
Does anyone else think that BJ's making any sense right now?
Nope, I have no idea what he's saying.
No, sorry.
Thank
Really?
you.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder if I'm the weird one.
No, I think
And I just don't get you.
I get universal messages, but especially if it's
So when it comes to ordering at the Outback Steakhouse,
Yeah.
you think God's going to be like, hey, yo, lady, don't tip her. Like, come on.
Well, I'm just thinking maybe somebody else needed the money. Is how
The
I would
light
go.
shines down her
Oh,
brain
it's like,
saying,
hey.
don't tip.
Like, maybe I
Money
wasn't
back in your wallet.
Maybe I wasn't a good enough guy. Maybe God's got a plan for me, or maybe He doesn't have a plan for me. I don't know.
I'm sure God does not care about your tip.
He cares about me, Rev, and my tip. So here's the other thing I'd like to bring up, since
Yes.
you want to talk about this. Tamlin sounds like she's a little older.
Okay.
I haven't seen a picture of her.
Okay.
But I tend to think if I walk into a joint and there's a woman, how
She doesn't look that old. She probably looks like she's in her 20s.
yeah, you're right. She
Maybe
sounds
like
a lot older.
Mid-ish?
She sounds like she sounds older than she looks. You're right, Steve. She looks young there, but I felt like she sounded like a middle-aged woman.
She's 25.
How about that? I nailed it.
Whoa, can we hear her just talk about you can play the second cut where she says she stands by. Listen to her. She does not sound like she's in her 20s to me.
I feel that we should be allowed to say something, especially to big parties that don't leave anything, that pay the exact amount. I still feel the same way, and I probably still do it the same way today. I wouldn't change anything. The church did reach out to me, and that they are trying to rectify.
Now that I know how old she is, I can kind of hear her sounding. It doesn't register right. But when you first brought it up, I thought she had to be in her 40s or 50s.
So yeah, let's just say she's in her 40s and her 50s.
Okay.
I feel like you gotta tip those folks because that's their gig. Like somebody in their 20s, a restaurant gig, and like Vicky,
Right.
it's an entry level job. You're going to move on to something. But a person that's if you're in your mid 40s, this is going to be your job. This is what you're doing. And I think they're trying to get by. I think you got to tip them.
I mean, but then I still think someone in their 20s is probably just scraping by, just trying to make ends meet. So, I mean, with that logic, I would think, man, this person is probably struggling to pay bills, especially here in Seattle with the way it costs to live wherever. I mean, I would still think the same for somebody in their 20s for different reasons. Like they deserve a big tip for the fact that they're just struggling to get by as well.
So with both of our arguments, you're saying we pretty much got to tip everybody but old people. Like really old people, we don't have to tip.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to die eventually, so they won't remember it.
All right, I get, you know what? I think God would want that.
Doing a little research in Florida where she's from, they're making $5 an hour.
What?
Yeah, for servers. In some states, it's legal.
I wonder why she's pissed.
Yeah.
I can't blame her, dude. That if you put together a $735 takeout order and you're only getting $5 an hour, God, that does suck.
How about this person says, my wife and I, we went to Oregon a couple of weeks ago. She got pissed off when I tipped the guy who got us our weed. I tried to explain to her that he actually had to go into the jar and get it out for me as opposed to it being pre-packed. That's why I don't tip in Washington. Well, I didn't know in Oregon you have to, they actually assemble the weed almost like a pharmacist.
Oh, I didn't even think that you might have to tip your bud tender.
Oh, all of them. In the conversation we've had on the Migscast with certain bud tenders, they have a tip jar, and I don't think it's probably like stoner sense of a guilt trip. Like, yeah, man, if you want to leave me a tip, cool, but if not, that's all right also.
Yeah. Damn, dude. I see. Yeah, we got to figure this out.
Tipping?
I think they got to revolutionize the restaurant business. $5 an hour is just wrong.
Today's podcast was brought to you by Travis Gagne, bankruptcy attorney. He's here right now and has agreed to answer more of your questions about bankruptcy. How much does bankruptcy cost?
Well, bankruptcy costs, of course, vary depending on what type of case you're filing. There's a certain amount of court costs and other out-of-pocket costs that you're going to have in any case. The filing fees in a bankruptcy case are about $300, whether you file Chapter 7 or Chapter 13. One of the things to watch out for when you're shopping for bankruptcy attorneys or looking at the different cost options is that a lot of times, especially the really cheap places, don't tell you up front about all the court costs and whatnot that you're going to have to pay in addition to the attorney fees. So make sure that you get the full picture when you're comparing prices of bankruptcy lawyers on what the attorney fees are, how much your court costs are going to be, so that you can really make a true comparison.
Thanks, Travis. If you have more questions about bankruptcy, you can reach out to Travis anytime at choosetherightchapter.com.
Keeping up with the flood of news every single day can be quite stressful. There is climate change happening. There's the pandemic, labor movements, Nicki Minaj's cousin's friend. Hi, I am Gideon Resnick, host of Crooked Media's What a Day. Each week, Travelle Anderson, Priyanka Arabindi, Josie Duffy Rice, and I are going to break down the biggest news stories of the day in a way that hopefully doesn't always make you want to cry. New episodes of What a Day drop every weekday at 5 a.m. Eastern. Listen on Odyssey, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.